So let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. I'm so happy to be back. Thank you for waiting patiently for my surgery. To give you a quick rundown, I really think it's a life-changing surgery because what the benefits that recovery has been difficult and painful, of course, but the benefits just from this point forward are just innumerable. Fatigue alone is gone. And I hope you guys notice, how my health gets better. On Critique Hour, maybe the mind fog is gone, maybe general fatigue is gone, which makes my thinking not as sharp as it once was. I'm not sure, maybe if we track down a year of Critique Hour backward, you can see how my health slowly gets worse and worse, and I get more and more tired, and I get more and more monotone. But, excuse me, I ate my dinner really fast before class. But yeah, I hope that we all heal together, because it's not just me, it's all of us. So the better I get at what I do, the better the community is, the better we run, the more the more well-oiled the machine will be. As for announcements, upcoming challenges, and sales, all that, Portrait Studio sale will be live within a month, possibly to June. Maybe starting at June, all of summer, but there is a summer Portrait Studio sale, as is with every year, which will bring this Portrait Studio down to possibly $45 from where it is right now. So if you want it, you want to wait for it, if 60 is just outside your budget for software, you can wait for the sale and it'll be a lot more affordable by then. And for those who do have a really difficult time affording it, even at $45, please, as I have offered from before and as I do regularly, I do give promo codes to those who need it. Brushes are also on sale during that time. Brushes are rewarded for good note takers. I don't know why you guys forget about that and have to announce it every single time. It's a consistent offer. It's not just a momentary, it's a lifelong offer. If you guys constantly give in and good note takers, good notes, you will get rewarded a free brush set. And for those who really just go at it all the time, you get a free Portrait Studio. The winners were announced right before I went out for surgery for the last community challenge. You guys have to make sure you message me. Please make sure you message me. And if you're added on Discord, message me. I have like 500 people on Discord, ex-students or students that are currently running or all of that. So I can't find you in the sea of anonymous little names and usernames of everyone's little original character. So please make sure you message me if I have not gotten back to you. If I have emailed you, please reply. If you sent me a Facebook message, please reply. But yeah, let's get started. To submit your work for Critique Hour, go to Istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon here. You can also explore my website. There's a lot of stuff here. It'll take you to the Reddit, and from there you'll be able to join community challenges, submit your notes, get in touch with me, everything, and stuff is pinned at the top. Any announcements for sales or community challenge pins are pinned at the top. This is where you get critique from other people. This is where you give critique to people, to other students, and this is the heart of the community right here is Reddit. So please make sure you're taking advantage of this free resource. I'm not sure, it's probably because the word free makes it seem like it is a thinly educational, like a thin amount of education or a little bit of education spread over too much toast. That's not how it is in this community. This is thick. This thick like oatmeal. It's thick with knowledge. It's thick with opportunity. You want to get good? Join a community. That was one of the first and most important points I made when that video that I sent out about why your drawings may suck. It's because you don't have a community. So make sure you join one and get active and get to know everyone and join Reddits and join other subreddits and join Discords and all that. Because you can't do anything alone. We are social creatures. We have one piece of a greater puzzle, and we are not a complete creation. So we need communities for just about anything. Nobody does anything alone, or anything good, or anything substantial, or anything long-lasting, or anything... I'll shut up. All right, and then if you are learning from my channel and you want to give back, you can always support me on Patreon. This month's rewards have been sent out. This month's assignment has been sent out to apprentices. Last month's assignments will be critiqued very soon. And yeah, that's what we offer on Reddit. All the brushes that I use for painting. Whenever I stream on after hours and you see me paint something, I re-upload that on a sped up time lapse, but with my live commentary on every choice that I made, where my mind was, what I was doing. And these are exclusive to apprentices and the $10 tier initiates, I believe. So you guys can go over there. I'm sorry about my lack of wakeness today because I'm still recovering, still a little bit of fatigue, and I pushed myself too much on that 3-hour hike 2 days ago, and a lot of gardening, tons of gardening. And if you're a gardener, please message me and talk to me on the comment section below. But I'm so excited about all the stuff that I've planted because I've never done it before. I used to garden a lot as a kid in the house I grew up in, and I was never allowed to garden a lot because back then, so weird, right? I was like 18, 16, because girls were supposed to stay indoors, wear their hijab, and stay in their little you know, enclosures where no one can see them until the day before their wedding. It's kind of some really fucked up, backwards, trash, garbo way of raising people. So I used to dream about just being outside and garden, and it was so important to me to garden. I used to have like a couple of pansies, one potato plant, and it's so funny because I used to even just go out and try to find dandelions and put them in my garden. I was very young. I didn't know that it was a weed, and they're beautiful in their own way. But just quick zoom back to the future, back to the present, and now I'm planting gladiolus, I'm planting hollyhocks, I'm planting hostas of all shapes and sizes. I'm planting roses. I bought like 10 climbing like roses, different types of roses. I bought 5 or 6 climbing roses, other bush roses. I've planted lupines, delphiniums. There's an ant on my wall. Canterbury bells, mullygrass, like some kind of ornamental grass. Oh my gosh, the list goes on and on and on. I can't even start. I haven't even started. All kinds of vegetables. So I'm just so grateful to God, and I'm so grateful to everything. And this summer is different because it's the first summer I get to garden in my house, and it's the first summer I get to enjoy the summer, where last year I was covered in dust and drywall trying to fix up what this house used to look like. So I'm very, very excited to just move forward. And I am 30 years old. I'm turning 31 in June. So it took a long time from the time I was like 17, 18, just graduated out of high school, planting dandelions till right now, 31, finally starting my own garden, and I'm so excited about it. I will be trying to post more of my garden pictures. I am very active on Instagram if you guys want to see it. But on Snapchat, I might just get back into that. But we'll see. But Instagram is where you'll most likely see most of my... God, we have an ant problem, and these ants are just killing me. Well, where you will see most of my stuff when it blooms come June. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to cover this piece, and I'm going to talk about what the issues are with it. And I'm sure everyone sees it. Something's uncomfortable about the expression. Beautiful to hear. This summer will be great for the garden. I hope so. Can't wait for more crab models in Portusidio. 30 to 40 is much shorter than 20 to 30. Yeah, because you're not even conscious at 20. You're half alive. 30, you finally become an adult and start living your life, and that's why it's shorter. So I've talked before about the issues with too much, a big size to the iris or the pupil, either or. It makes the face extremely uncomfortable. So when you have a pure black, it's the right size, but it's pure black, as if the eye is dilated. Is it dilated when it's huge? It's too big, meaning that you don't really see the space in between the iris and the pupil and the edge of the iris. When the whole iris itself is just gigantic, I'm not sure if you remember back in the 90s, all those popular vampire movies like Angel or Buffy the Vampire Slayer or some other. They used to, the way, I mean, it was pretty original. They used to show how you had transformed into the vampire by completely blacking out the eyes, which is a very, very effective way of dehumanizing a character instantly. So that's it really, is that you were attaching this monstrous version, or like you're attaching the monster, you're equipping monster on top of the portrait. And I've said this before, but in scenes, in movies and shows and anything, any kind of media where a character is being introduced, the best way to show that they are mysterious or possibly dangerous, or something about them which should entice some kind of the feeling of caution, is hiding the eyes. If you don't see the eyes, you don't see the person. Write that back to me. So what you're doing to the viewer is you're shielding the viewer from, you're shielding the character that you're trying to paint. Sorry about the crackling. From the viewer. You're shielding the viewer. You're shielding the character you're trying to paint from the viewer, which is terrible to do because this is a portrait. You're shielding everything away from the viewer at that point. And so when you're hiding the eyes, you hide the character. Istebrak, I didn't hide the eyes. I just enlarged the pupil. Enlarge the iris. Yes, you did, because the whites of the eyes are the frame. They're part of it. They're a big part of it. When we don't see the white of the eyes, another popular saying from books, I remember reading it in many books, is a character saying, "Come closer, or come into the light. Let me see the white of your eyes." That's another way, that humans learn to differentiate between what's safe and what's not. It's also big, in people and characters. Come into the light, stop being so far away I can't even see the whites of your eyes. Have you ever heard that before? Maybe I'm just old. Okay, so I got rid of that. And again, as you can see, it's very uncomfortable. Another thing that you did, which you shouldn't do, and remember, this is a unique to villains, is that we're shading the eyes in some way or form. Either it's big pupil, or dark circles, or no eyebrows. Those are the things that we use when we paint a villain. And name any villain off the top of your head right now. They have 1 or 2 or 3 of these, or a combination of them. To see either, a demon or a horror movie, bad guy, antagonist, or the ghost haunting that lady from Insidious, or who knows what it is. It's always a combination of no eyebrows, whites of the eyes are missing, or they're bloodshot in some way. And that's just really, really quick way of creating a villain, because it exemplifies illness, or some kind of loss of vitality, or some kind of zombie look, or some kind of you name it, anything that does not look healthy and beautiful is utilized in rendering a villain and seeing a villain. So name any villain, they have some version of that on them, because you want to create a distance between the viewer and the villain. You don't want the villain to seem too relatable unless it's a deliberate part of the narrative or the plot, or whatever the writer wants to do. But for those, for our media, gaming and movies and high fantasy, any kind of villain, like for instance from Ragnarok, Hela, the way they designed her, she had a lot of shadow around her eyes and a little bit of a dark circle. I think her eyebrows were thicker, but she had very strong cheekbones, very skeletal face. Again, it goes back to that. So that's one thing that we do with villains. Another thing we do with villains and horror movie villains. So what do we call horror movie villains? Like the ghoul or the bad guy ghost? I'm not really sure. Is show dirty teeth. I can't even, I can't even name, it's just so many of them. How many villains in movies have had bad teeth? It doesn't even have to be a horror movie. It can be something as simple as like the villain in like some kind of gun movie, you know, with guns and transformers and bullets and something like that. It doesn't have anything to do, or something very modern, maybe an espionage movie, or like the bad guy who had that cyanide depression on his face after he took the I think it was cyanide from 007. Javier Bardem's character, the villain, he had very bad teeth. Javier Bardem anywhere has had bad teeth. Look him up, Javier Bardem. I think that's his name. I think. I'm sorry. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you name it, anywhere you've seen a bad guy who's just rotten to the core has had rotten teeth as well. So just one of those things that we associate with a good person. Good teeth and good eyes, right? Healthy all around. Healthy is good. And that's unfortunately how it is in filming and casting and movies and anything where we have a protagonist who is supposed to be this descended or a risen Jesus type character. I'm not saying Jesus religiously. I'm saying like the underdog, the good, the purely good, the whatever it is on the scale from good to like chaotic evil, so avoid showing the space in between the teeth, because that is the first sign of rot, is that you have stains that start lingering in between each tooth. It's not to say that people with bad teeth are bad people. Remember, these are the rules of casting and character design. It has nothing to do with the real world. The real world is not is way more complex and way more detailed to be, boiled down into a couple of fundamentals. But there it is. All right, so we fixed two big things. I'm going to start running through most of the other changes, and you probably have already seen them. One of the first changes I'm going to make is just completely bringing down the contrast of the whites of the face, because you seem to have absolutely no rule as to what stays light, what stays dark, and what is light and what deserves to be light, where light would go as a block, and then in inverse what shadow does, and where shadow should have been blocked instead of estimated, okay, or guessed, or whatever it is you guys are doing when you're not blocking. So Gollum is just perfect. But do you see how when in the movies, the way the designers, when Gollum is his good self, the under eye is lighter. When his eyes are bigger and his pupils and iris are bigger, in a cute way. The whites are still visible. And then, all right, this is starting to piss me off. And then when he's in his evil form, when he's talking to himself, he's a lot more ghoulish looking. He actually looks very villainous, and that's exactly how you do it. Abu, if you hear me, can you please come take care of this ant, because I will shriek again, as I did earlier today. So I brought down the whites of the eyes. I mean the contrast, and now I'm gonna block in where I feel like I need some averages, just based off what we usually do. So there's no music playing in the background, right? Everything's good? All right. So the cheekbones, the forehead, the bridge of the nose you got, and then the chin, and now to block in the shadows. Blocking in the shadow of the eye sockets, one general shadow for the entire eye space, and then I will come back and bring in some white. The sides of the nose need some shadow, but they also need to be brightened. So really they just need some edges. And so I'm edging them out. I don't want to lose the freckles you added, but it's just, a hazard of critique hours that I can't go back and, stipple every little speckle or detail. I will smudge in a moment. And then I'm going to add in a half shadow for the dome of the chin. Everything needs a core shadow. Write that back to me. So just because it's a, you know, minuscule little chin does not mean that it does not have a core shadow. It's part of one big core shadow, which is that beard shadow, which is, I'm going to just throw one really strong brush stroke there. So this is why I separated the talk about what makes it feel like a villain and creepy, and the talk about what's missing fundamentals, because just sometimes you're missing fundamentals, but things don't look creepy, right? The reason why I had to separate both parts in this critique hour today is because it does come from different sources. That feeling of like that creepy smile, that toothy smile, blending out this area. And then the eyebrows and the lower eye, I always blend that out because it's not natural to have an edge directly cliff drop right after the eyebrow into the eye socket ridge here. It's actually a very soft transition. Forehead into eye socket, write this back to me, is a soft transition for females. He's too adorable. It's okay, you can forget it. It's gone. It's on the did you check the underside of the table? All right, then. As long as it doesn't end up on my feet, I'm good. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so I'm just going to try to keep some of these speckles in because they're actually really nice. And this is a good tip, I guess, for how to keep texture, is start off with a crap ton of texture. Just throw it on and then blend away till you have a nice balance. You always do have to blend away, though. Don't just not blend the texture you throw on. And then I'll show you in a second how I bring sharpen tool and just sharpen some areas. But let's keep going. I'm going to smudge out what you did here with the hair. So can anyone tell me what the issue is with the hair? Just the general big no-no of the hair right now. Does anybody want to take a guess? What was the biggest no-no here of the hair? 1 pixel with brush strokes for every individual hair. So this is how the student thinks. I mean, and it's a smart thought. It's, you know, it's ruminate. Humans are ruminating right now. Students, I mean, and humans do ruminate. That's what separates us from the animals. But it's the wrong conclusion. But this is what they think. If I brush every single individual hair naturally, I will get a very well rendered head of hair. I mean, this is foolproof. This has got to work. It does not work. You have to understand that hair clumps, becomes actually one big clump. It's not many individual hairs separated by static electricity or floating on their own. They actually clump together. Oil, the reason why hair is shiny and all that and has a luster to it is because of the natural oil that seeps out of our scalp, which like glue sticks hair together when it dries off. And that means that hair, which was once by itself, has now become one big curled spiral or clump or wave. So that's a different kind of thing that the student is now responsible for. The artist is now responsible for representing how that clump has become a voluminous thing. Voluminous means a full thing. It now can cast a big shadow. It's now full, meaning it's fat enough to cast a shadow and get a core shadow of its own. That's what it means when we add volume to something. So how do you add that volume? Well, you just think about how thick it is, its direction to the light source. That's a whole other story, a whole other class. But trying to paint every single individual hair, thinking that it will naturally come together, is big, big no. I amend your intuitiveness and your ingenuity, but it is not the answer. All right, so the forehead, now that I've brought all this down, the forehead can actually afford to be a little bit darker because it's a dome gradual shift. So remember I said the right back to me thing where I said that the forehead shifts very, very gradually into the eye socket. Well, that means that it's in the words. It shifts gradually, meaning it slowly, radially becomes a part of it. So we can actually show how the forehead is a dome shape because the before is so manipulated by fundamental errors and student habit. The before and after is going to look very different, but bear with me. All right, so then I'm going to blend out the sides of the nose. And as you can see, I lighten the sides of the nose. Why did I lighten the sides? Anyone want to take a guess? Alright, and then while you guys guess that, I'm going to quickly run through the eye sockets. I'm not going to try to explain it thoroughly. I have a whole critique hour about that, but I radially move down into the eye socket line, and I will erase under that line and above that line by a little bit because she has, it's not really hooded eyes, but wrinkly eyes, and youthfully wrinkly. I don't know if you get my meaning. It's just, it's not really old wrinkles, it's just loose youngish skin. It's just genetics. So I've radially come down on all of these eye socket lines. Please do go watch that video on the eye socket. The sides of the nose are planes that face the light, exactly. So to have them too dark means that you're value sharing, means that you're using the same shadow you designated for the eye socket as on the sides of the nose. That makes no sense. The nose is nothing like the eye socket, so it should have nothing similar when it comes to value. And then I'm going to gradually climb up. Basically, I'm piling on the values. And that's to show that there is a wrinkling happening, a natural wrinkling. Another thing the student did is try to outline the start of the lower eyelid. Listen, you look worse trying to outline eyelids than to have no transition. This looks better than having a line. This, just this. I know, where's the lower eyelid start? I don't know, you know, it makes no sense. Where does it start? But this looks more professional than what you did before. Because it means that you understand, at least you did not use the line. It means you understand that the line is more volatile than nothing at all. And that is a sign of a more professional artist, a more critical thinker. All right, so now I'm bringing the white back and climbing radially out of it, deleting under everything above, the lash line, because that must stay dark since lash is a pigment. So I'm just rendering a portrait today, really. That's the kind of name of the game. So now I brought in that shine, or the white of the eye, but above, on the upper half of the eyeball. It's a ball. It deserves a core shadow as well. And so because you're probably wondering, when do we bring in form? Well, we bring it in now. We bring it in as a waterline. You're probably making her squint a bit, and I want to keep that. If she's wearing makeup, it's a different story, because you can wear makeup on the inner waterline. That's not really trending that much anymore nowadays in makeup. People want to enlarge their eyes, and nobody really wants to shrink their eyes anymore than they need to. And painting liner on the inner waterline for anyone's face shrinks the eye, shrinks the way the eyes look. I'm going to bring in a haze, meaning it's a low opacity, small, soft brush for the lower eyelash, for the upper eyelash line, because I want it to feel like it's the illusion of lashes present, not actually paint every individual lash, which you have done. I'm going to smudge out some of those lashes here. All right, so I'm raising the strength up a little bit, blending out whatever on earth that was. I'm not sure what you have these lines there for. It's not really something I've seen. It's not a flick for makeup. It's just this downward half wrinkle. Get rid of it. You don't need it. It's causing more trouble than it's solving. And I'm bringing in that little highlighter line right there. I'm being still a little bit cautious before I bring in the darks of the eyes in any direction. And I want to make sure that everything feels right before I do that. Alrighty, and then next up we've got, oh, someone's asking a question. Is the waterline just at the top part of the lower eyelid? The top part of the lower eyelid? What do you mean the top part? You mean the part that sticks out the most? It's everywhere, but the part that sticks out the most catches a lot of light. You don't really see it, that kind of camouflages on the edges of the eye. Okay. And then I'm going to add a little bit of highlighter, but you have lashes here, so it's a bit tricky for me. A little bit of highlighter for the upper eyelid. And I do need to liquefy, I definitely do, but it kind of just happened where I just jumped into the features that made it seem it was like a villain. So now I can kind of just think about scale. Scale is like the size of everything in relation to everything. So the size of the eyes in relation to the face, any asymmetries that I might have, all kind of goes back to scale. All right, so I'm trying to match the cheekbones on either side. And then I will finally finish up with the eyes and move on into the mouth a little bit and the nose. So the question arises, Istebrak, I used a reference, the teeth had spaces between them, and I saw every individual hair, and I saw every individual eyelash and every individual freckle. Why is it that in paintings you're not allowed to do that? What did I do wrong? Well, is the camera like a human eye? No. A camera sees more than the human eye does, because a human eye can only see one thing at a time, whereas a camera sees all the details at the same time. So we don't like to paint as if we are seeing every detail, because that's not what we are seeing with our eyes. Why we paint is because we're trying to show what we see. Every artist sees things differently. You can't take a photo of what happens in someone's brain or what they imagine, right? You can't put a little video camera in there to record someone's imagination. Wouldn't that be crazy? But we still have no technology for that. And so that's why artists are still relevant, will always be relevant, because we're trying to show how we see things through our personal viewfinder. So that's how we like to paint, as if we are seeing with our own two eyes. So show what you see in that, show what you see when it comes to fundamentals or your style, or what you see first before another fundamental. For me, I see edges first, then I see color. So show what you see in that regard. Don't show what you see as in show every technical square inch of pixel that you see. That's not what that means. I'm going to move the shadow around the eyes back into the skull now that I have a more kind of concrete head shape. And I'm just trying to thin out the eyes so that they seem like they're the same eyebrows. They seem like they're symmetrical. I think I'm ready for the pupils and the iris, but before that, let me just correct the nose. So any questions so far? Because I always draw a wide top part of the lower eyelid and a waterline. A wide top part. Like the inner part of the lower eyelid is what she means, I think. What do you think of people just using eyelash brushes instead of just drawing them? I think that's fine if you're, in a hurry and you want to finish, but I don't think it's good to use any kind of brush if you don't know how to draw the thing. Learn how to draw it, then you earn the right to use shortcut brushes. But you still have to learn how to draw something, right? You still have to learn why it looks like that. I'm sure you will eventually learn why it looks like that down the line, but that's not how we study things here in my classes. We like to learn the thing and not waste years and years learning something we could have learned now, you know. Understand it, break it down into a form study, and learn it right away. There's no reason why things should take years and years if they could just be a month of focus. So go ahead and do whatever you need to do in order to get your work done and hand it over to your boss or whoever it is that's hired you. Do what you need to do to get stuff done fast. No one has time to sit there drawing every lash if it's a high detail piece. But at the same time, don't use shortcuts or overuse shortcuts. They're only gonna make you more crippled. So I'm just gonna take some creative liberties and kind of give her a little bump on the nose. A little highlighter here, just so I know exactly where I want to use all of those whites. Now that I've lightened the nose, I'm going to use the right amount of dark and light, meaning I'm going to get the edges of the nose down. Make sure that the nose is only dark on the part that starts to look away from the light. So separating the two from each other. The part that looks away from the light has its own little blocking dedicated to it. Then I'm going to get the blackest black I can get. And designate where I'm going to have the nostrils. So now I have two things unblended. This and this. This is A, this is B. Don't blend B, because B is the representation of one edge in front of another, one object in front of another, creating an edge. These objects don't touch. Whereas this does represent an edge that objects do touch. They are just the corner of the same object. Get a piece of paper and bend it. So there's two types of edges, one object in front of another. From the sides, they don't touch. Or the same object, the paper, you just folded it. Now you have surface A, surface B. They're touching, but the edge isn't as sharp as it would be had it been objects that are not sharing any space or anything at all, any matter. They're just two objects in front of each other. We're not talking about fluffy furry covers, or fur covered objects. We're talking about just any solid substance or any hard surface. So this is B type, or one type, which is same object, it just folded, same nostril, it just changed directions. One part of the nostril is looking up at the light, one part looks down. And this is the second part, which is the nostril is in front of the face. The face is the hole, by the way. A lot of people don't really think about how the face is why there's a nostril hole, because it's the thing underneath the nostril, which is the umbrella sitting on top. So both are the reason why, but this is why we blend the lower half of the nostril, because it's the face transitioning back up into the hole of the nose, to become the hole of the nose. So the nose is in front of the face, and that's why we blend that out. And over here, we blend this area out, and that's how you get a realistic looking nose. And I'm going to just show how her nose is a little bumpy. Maybe it's got areas that reach the light. I try not to put too much light on nostrils on the side, since they technically belong to the side of the nose. They aren't their own entity. And sometimes we will get a little bounce light on the nose here. So you can see I didn't even blend that edge of the nostril hole that I applied. And I'm going to use the surrounding skin color to kind of corner in or zone in the shadow of the nose, the cast shadow of the nose. All right, so we're almost done. What's the rule about rendering a mouth, rendering lips? What's the rule? What is the canon? What is the commandment? Always under render. Excellent. 240. Wow, that's almost unwatchable. Congrats. What's happening? 240p? I'm on 240p right now. Smudge it with the skin. Less detailed. Excellent. So the reason why, another reason why we don't paint like we're seeing things with a camera is because when we look at a person and look at their eyes, what do you call things that are not the thing you are looking directly at? What's the word? So what's the word that we refer to in English as the thing that we are not looking directly at, but we can still see in our view? Some dude watched your stream on 240p for 4 years. Who? Oh my goodness, 4 years of watching these streams and it finally worked out that I can change the clarity of the settings and don't need to watch them in 240p. What? Oh my god. Yo, my sweet summer child. Yes, you can change this resolution. I'm so sorry you've been watching it. Peripheral, excellent. So your periphery, meaning that it's the thing that you can see. Like right now you're looking at my monitor, on my screen, on your YouTube, but you can also generally be visually aware. It's a visual awareness of the things on your desktop or wherever you're sitting. What we do when we talk to someone is that exactly. We don't see things super clearly with every other feature, but they're just generally there. We are visually aware of them. So paint the mouth like you're visually aware of it, but it's not the focal point. If you start painting the mouth like it's the focal point, that doesn't read well in a painting. An over-rendered mouth looks like a very dry mouth in a painting. But the painting had space between the teeth, Istebrak. Yes, and when you copy exactly what you see, you're gonna end up drawing a character with some kind of tooth fungus, if that is even a thing. It just does not read well, and the word read here is key. It does not read well. It doesn't feel like the thing. Okay, so what I've done here is I've added shadows to combine this face with its surrounding, to combine the mouth with the surrounding face. And now I'm just going to try to represent the cylinder of the mouth, which is every part of the mouth has a cylinder, and then I'll correct the expression. Now I've seen people who have a face that has a certain type of expression to it, even when they don't mean to make it. I'm sure you all know what I mean. We've all met someone who looks a certain way that doesn't really look like they're aware they're doing a face, you know, every time they talk. Or sometimes it's cute and charming, you know, sometimes it is confusing. You're not sure if the person's mad at you. But this girl has a very kind of like she just smelled some compost when she wasn't ready to smell compost, you know, or she's just walking through a manure field. She looks very disgusted. And that an instinct that we all have when we, you know, when you get disgusted and you just raise your upper lip a little bit and more of your teeth are visible, that's happening not because of the mouth, but because you're showing too much teeth. You know, when you just get disgusted and your mouth goes up. I'm not sure why we do it instinctively. Maybe it like closes off our nose, so we take in less air when we do that because the smell is gross. Or maybe our lips, which is how we interact with food, move away from the object because we would never eat something that smelled that bad. Do you know what I mean? So I'm not sure why humans do that, but it does read as if she's disgusted. So I'm just trying to get rid of the things that make it seem like her lip has curled up in disgust. And again, the reference might have had a very modest kind of curl to the mouth or a very pronounced curl to the mouth. I wouldn't know. I don't have it. Sometimes people with super thin upper lip look like, you know, they have a disgusted face sometimes. But you know, each person sees things differently. That's how I see it. You know, maybe other people might see it and think angry. Other people might see it and think sleepy. You know, it's a very different view for everyone. All right. So I'm just trying to combine the mouth with its surrounding area. I definitely smudged it everywhere. I used soft brush on it just so the mouth looks like it's part of the skin. It is skin still. Some people paint as if it's not even skin, you know. I'm not sure what they think lips are. Maybe it's all of the stinking magazine covers plastered everywhere, from airports to bus stops, women wearing really strong lipstick all the time, and our minds have this ingrained image or symbol of a mouth with a super sharp outline on it, and it's removed you from the natural look of mouths, which is actually very camouflaged and kind of matching with our skin. And not every race has naturally red lips. I mean, brown people don't have naturally red lips all the time. It's kind of like a Caucasian feature. You know, it's actually very, you know, skin tone color. It's not pure red or like has tones of purple in it. And so more often than not, even when putting lipstick on, it's just too bold when you guys paint it. So when I wear lipstick, I try to make it look more like a natural tint than a full-on outline. Even in makeup, it doesn't look good. Even in real life, it doesn't look good to have something too sharp, too outlined, because the lip is, where does the lip start? Technically, it starts right outside the white line around the mouth. So it's like, where do you even put lipstick so that it looks like a natural start to a very deep color? It's always a kind of a gamble to pick where you're going to start that really dark shade of lipstick. Now I'm putting highlighters just based off my visual library. My visual library is telling me to do. Different references have different highlighter points because everyone's face has different dips and rises and different oil pockets. There are averages that connect every face, young and old, that everyone has, but there are differences in detail when it comes to patterns on the face or different races or where the blush usually is. And I'm going to use the feathered edge of my soft brush to really drop into black along the edge of the face so that it combines back and gets blanketed between all of that hair. So it's not just existing on its own. It's a very difficult to catch change, but before, do you see that sharp edge? After we've combined the face with the hair. It's a very strong tool to use to make the painting or the face look more natural. And now we can finally add the whites of the eyes. And I'll do a little bit more work on the eyes now that everything is nice and ready. So before, what you had was kind of something like that. You had like a lot, and it just looks demonic with it. I've never found this useful in, I mean, it's useful where you're painting like a very demonic character. Do you see what I mean? It'll just kill all the humanity. And I've talked about this, so please look it up. Look up the eye socket video. Just Google, search eye socket keyword in my video history. So go to videos, a little search bar right there at the top right. And then also search for iris or pupil size. I've done a whole video on why that does not look natural when you guys mess with it and make them too big. We make them too big because of anime. Anime, the bane of our existence. So I'm just trying to find like a natural gaze. She could be looking anywhere, but I kept them a little bit smaller than usual. She's also, I think it could be a bit bigger than this. I'm being a little stingy, just because I want to get my point across, but I'll make them a little bit bigger than this. But I do want to keep the squint in the eyes, so it's very strong. I don't know why Photoshop is giving me either oversized or maybe I should just stay safe and use. Oh. So get one eye to look where you want it to look. Like, make it look at you. So I'm just only focused on one eye. And I got the other one, moving it across. And I'm gonna try to look at the center of her nose. So right now, my eyes are here, but my periphery is guiding the other eye. So to hide the outlines of the transform tool is just Control H. And I'm looking at her nose and bouncing back and forth between each eye until it feels natural. So that's too far apart. And I think it's because this one is far apart too. And it's just a very, if you just take your time and trust your periphery vision, you'll be able to paint a character that looks like they're looking at, you know, something close nearby or maybe even at you. Whoops. All right, almost there. This one could use another nudge. Alrighty. All right, so we have now good placement. And yes, I absolutely used the stencil and the mouse click. Because an eye is a mechanical thing. You don't really eyeball the sphere of a tire rim for your car. You know, it's something that needs to maintain its circular shape outside of human error. I don't let human error come anywhere near the pupil and the iris because it is a mechanically what's the word? It's critical. It's mechanically critical that it stays. It's critical to the mechanics of the eye that it stays perfectly spherical. All right. I always do this. Every painting you've seen me do, I've done this, and this is what I would do if I was sketching as well by hand. I would use like the back of my pencil to make a good circle, or I would, if it's a very big portrait like the ones I did in high school, I would use a protractor to get that perfect circle for the eyes. I never played games when it came to the pupil and the iris. It's just that if it needs to be a perfect circle, why am I even trying to do one freehand? All right, so now you know, the world's your oyster. Now you can just choose whatever you want to do with the pupil and the iris. When it comes to color, I locked the layer. And now that everything is kind of where it needs to be, I like brown eyes, as you guys know already. But if you want to add color, add the initial color. Make sure you shadow the eyes under the umbrella of the lashes as was intended by nature, if the shade needed to keep the eye intact. And then get your, either you can pencil it in this part or you can stencil it in. It's really your choice for this part of the eye. But find the middle, the center most point. If you don't find it, it's fine. Eyes tend to be a little bit asymmetrical with the placement of the pupil because the camera and the lights around sometimes distort where the source is for that. And then back to my soft brush. Son of a bitch. All right, I completely forgot that I forbade dinner before critique hour because I get really short of breath. They eat too fast. And then I'm just gonna, before that, I'm gonna just bring in like a very light trim color just around the pupil edge. Doesn't have to be perfect. And then I'm going to bring in that specular highlighter just there. So yes, the before and after, as I said, is going to be very different because I'm just pulling from my own visual library. And the changes or the issues that the fundamental, and lack of fundamentals in the before made it so that I can't really track down what the reference might have looked like so that I could make the adjustments therein. But I hope the lesson is still coming across. All right, and then one more really important thing, which is the shadow of the lashes on the ball of the eye. That is a very, very important shadow. If you don't have it, things look really creepy and overexposed and unnatural. So to have that, again, that comfortable look, you need to make sure you have it. I'm going to merge everything. Comfortable look, meaning it doesn't look creepy. Because as you've noticed already, just from this class, the eye carries so much familiarity for it, for the viewer. It's how the viewer interacts with your painting. It's through, with your portrait, is through the eye. And every other thing is kind of different. Portraits that only have the mouth visible are very sexual. Portraits that have the nose visible are very, like, I don't know, nasal. I really have never seen why. You know, maybe jewelry or something to show like a nose piercing. A nose and a mouth is very sexual, but also mysterious. Mouth only is very sexual. Eyes, very, only eyes visible is very, very, it draws the viewer in, because who are you? What does your face look like? I feel like with masks, people are so much more curious about a person to get to know them, because you only see their eyes. And to be honest, the nose and the mouth are kind of practical, but the eyes didn't have to be this beautiful. And they are very practical in their mechanical purpose, you know, and giving us, showing us the world. But eyes have a very beautiful, you know, form to them. That's much more appealing to us through communication, because we communicate through our eyes a lot. They're very expressive. And it's what we look at when we look at people, when we fall in love, when we're angry, when we're sad. It's the eyes that really tell the story. So when you mess with the eyes, when you over enlarge the pupil or the iris, when we don't see whites in the eyes, when we see like some kind of asymmetry there, that's when you're throwing away the entire portrait. So be careful not to oversize that pupil and iris, because it just looks really, really creepy. Or just the pupil, the iris itself just being too big. Looks very creepy, looks very demonic. Not me being funny, it's actually when you're painting a demon or designing a demon, that's what you go for to make it look right. So before I close up, I'm going to just tuck in the sides. And then try to just bring in an expression. So maybe just raise one eyebrow, let one eyebrow kind of hang low. Just that asymmetry, see what I mean? And I'm still not 100% sure what's happening with the teeth, since these front teeth look extremely large and wide, almost like they're fake. So I'm going to use a very, very large brush to kind of just close off those two front teeth. I was thinking of the word veneers. Just kind of try to show how the two front teeth are kind of separate and bigger than the teeth around, but being very gentle with the soft brush. And I am using soft brush for this. I would never use a hard round for teeth. And then I will smudge a little bit, even though I was very careful with the values. She still kind of looks a little bit disgusted, but at this moment, I don't really care that much. You can also just raise the mouth up a little bit. And if you want it to look a little less whatever, you know what I'm saying with the mouth, then you can just hide the lower teeth and show only the upper teeth. See that? So it's just when she does this, you know, like lower your lower lip. Lower your lower lip and tell me that doesn't, you know, it's not, sometimes it just happens naturally with the way certain people's mouth is shaped. But in a reference, sometimes you're just kind of forcing the feeling, like you're kind of forcing that expression because you painted it wrong. You didn't really follow your reference. So you didn't get the right version of it. And then there's just where we have some units of highlight, like just under the lip here. I'm going to block in that, and then I'm going to block in a new dimple And that's like a completely different lip, you see. And this is just how it looks before blending, but we're going to leave one of those edges intact because we want it to look like it's radial. So the edge above that line, and then this is just where they touch. Again, these are just my choices. I don't have a reference, so I'm just making my own anatomy here from what my visual library is telling me. The upper lip, when I squint my eyes, seems a little bit highlighted. So I'm going to let that kind of drop down. I think my changes will need more rendering, and I'm out of time at 6:02. But I would go back and try to make the wrinkle feel a little bit stronger. So I'm just going to leave it at something there, and then just blend away the feathered edges. But I wish I could do this kind of shadow moving up, and then a little bit more radial shading, and then like some jowls here. But then at this point, I'd just be having too much fun and rendering nonstop as if it was after hours, which I don't want to do because it's very hard to do that. It's very hard for me to do that, to not just sit there and render the way I do when I critique. I mean, when I do critique hour. I mean, after hours. God damn it. I'm going to try to connect this up as if it's a smile, but it's just the whole teeth situation that have thrown me off. All right. A couple of lower eyelid crease lines right there. Let me see if I could just try to go back to where the mouth was just from... I actually like the highlights in the mouth. Istebrak, you can't do that. Not after hours. I'll just leave the same expression at least. Alrighty. Before. Big changes. But it's not to say that, you know, where you're going is completely wrong, because I didn't really liquefy that much. And I explained the fundamental in every feature that I changed. So I talked about the nose, the mouth, the eyes, the eyebrows, the sides of the nose, the head, the hair. So I covered every major change with you. But the biggest change that I did today was the distinction between creepy and not creepy, and how I separated the critique of fundamentals and rendering and avoiding excessive detail, and the fundamentals of villain, which is how you make a character look ghoulish, look horror, look creepy. Mine is a little over polished, as you can see, because I've used soft brush to hurry the process along. It doesn't mean that you guys should have a speedy kind of jump through your rendering, because, or just depend too much on soft brush, because it's just a very, very strong tool for very quick surgery, critique hour surgery, but it's not something that I recommend when you have, it's emergency surgery tool. All right, soft brush is emergency surgery. It is not the main tool you're supposed to be using. I'm just using unsharp mask here to just kind of get rid of that soft brush softness, but it's still, the transitions of soft brush are still there. Please be aware. There's other things I would love to change, but I have no time for that. Hello guys, I'm so happy to hear Istebrak again. Is this going to be uploaded on the channel? Yes, it is. Thank you for your sweet words, David Stacco. All critique hours get uploaded, yes. Turth? Kyle. The framing is a little awkward because it's a square canvas almost. It's not really a vertical canvas. which I don't approve of. If you're gonna have a portrait, just go for the vertical canvas. We are looking up and down. We don't look side to side when we're looking at someone's portrait. We look from their forehead down to their chin. So our eyes are doing this vertical motion, meaning give us vertical space above the head and below the chin so that we could appreciate the portrait a little bit better. I hope soft brush surgery doesn't require soft brush recovery afterwards. It probably will. And Mean Girls. I don't remember Mean Girls. She does look familiar, like an actress. All right, thank you everyone for coming today. And thank you for waiting patiently for me recovering. I should probably have taken another week to recover since, you know, pain is past, but fatigue is still there. Deep fatigue, you know, but I was just so excited about my my results from the surgery. That's why I kind of overdid it with the hike and the gardening. But I'm just excited to be alive. I'm just so excited to be on this earth and not being in so much pain. And it would be very irresponsible of me to not tell other girls to go get checked. Cysts are terrible. Ovarian cysts are terrible. If you have, Google first of all, Google the symptoms. If you have any kind of excessive discomfort, if you have fatigue, if you have stuff that just doesn't seem like it's a fair amount of pain for a person. If you just find yourself in so much pain that you wonder, is this really natural? Is this really what girls are supposed to go through? Go to a doctor and ask, and just get an ultrasound. Do basic stuff. They can see a lot with just an ultrasound. One person has already gotten back to me about how they went and got checked out, and I'm very proud of them for doing that. And I will continue to sing this off at the highest mountain. This cyst ruined my life. I was in fatigue. I couldn't walk to the garage and back without needing to sit down because I was dizzy. I was fainting. So please don't delay it. Don't think, oh, it'll just solve itself. Go to a doctor, and please get checked for cysts because they turn into cancer and they ruin your life. So I'm so happy that it's gone, and I'm so excited to be alive. I know I've said that, but I really am. Yeah, thank you guys for coming today. I'll see you guys on Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to submit stuff for Critique Hour, go to istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon right here to join us. There's all kinds of goodies over here, from community challenges to critiquing each other, to sale announcements. This is where I pick stuff for Critique Hour. The Critique Hour folder is kind of, you know, we're set for a good 2 weeks or so, or 2, 4, 6, 3 weeks. But you know, people upload every single day. And if you learn something from today's class and you want to give back, feel free to join me on Patreon. There's a $1 tier all the way up to $20, 4 tiers, 1, 5, 10, and 20. And the $20 tier gets homework, all my brushes, exclusive video content, meaning critique hours, and time-lapse videos of my personal work. All kinds of stuff is available on Patreon and the Reddit. And I'll let you guys go. Thank you for coming. Bye, everyone.